Calling is such a critical component of turkey hunting. And when it comes to calling, I'm not talking about just going out there and laying down some yelps. The more calls that you have in your arsenal, the better turkey hunter you're gonna be. So whether your first setup is in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, no matter what time of day, when you roll into that setup, I highly recommend you start with soft calling right away. Just do some soft yelps, clucks, and purrs, because you never know exactly how close that gobbler might be. And every once in a while, if you hit them too hard right out of the gate, you can spook them. Once you're set up on a bird, you've got them responding, then that's where the real game begins. You have to take the bird's temperature, you have to get inside his head and just try to figure out what his next move is gonna be. If you've got a bird coming in and closing the distance with what you're already doing, just keep doing it. But if he starts to lose interest, you've got two options. Either stop calling so he comes to look for you, or if you want to keep him fired up and hot and he's that type of bird where you just need to keep him going, then hit him with some harder calls. With your yelps, work in some cuts, and don't hesitate to throw down a fighting purr, because you might have a bird that flips a switch just like that if you hit that aggressive calling, and that fighting purr might bring him in for a fight that you're ultimately going to win. A lot of times you'll go into a turkey hunt, and in the mornings and evenings, you'll probably have a spot in mind where you actually want to go set up, and that's where you're going to go. But during the day, as you're trying to find new birds and work birds throughout the day, and you're running and gunning, that's a different calling strategy in itself. You can always use turkey calls to locate gobblers too, but you want to be selective about when and how you're using them, and especially when it comes to the time of day. A box call can be a great locator call because it screams loud, very sharp notes, and a lot of times, even if a gobbler is not necessarily going to come in, you can figure out where he's at by striking that box call with some force. Another type of shot call that you can use that works in the evening and works throughout the day is a crow call. If you lay down a crow call, I recommend starting with one sharp note, because if you carry on with a big sequence, you might miss that gobble during the sequence. Now, if you don't get a gobbler to respond, lay into him a little bit heavier. Maybe do a sequence of 3 caws and then lay into something even more aggressive after that if he's still not talking. It's important to carry a variety of calls, pot calls, mouth calls, box calls, whatever you're comfortable with, but multiple calls. And the reason why is because each of them will put off a different tone and frequency. I can't even tell you the number of times that I've been hunting and I've run through every call in my turkey vest, and it's not till that last one that you can get a gobbler to react. And that's the call you're going to want to stick with if you're trying to bring them in.